Hello, my name is David Webb, and this is a video for Dweebovision. I am a Scrabble grandmaster, and in this video I am going to analyse some of the moves from Dweebovision 218. In that game, which I lost by over 100 points, at the end of the game when I conducted the post-game analysis, I made a number of suboptimal moves, and I was interested in finding out how suboptimal they were, so I ran the game through Quackle, and I'd like to cover in this video some of those moves. So the first one I'd like to look at is the Yow play. This was my rack, and Cogway is suggested here, and this was also the move that was suggested by ISC. This is my move, Yow, for 20, 10 fewer points. So I'm now going to run the simulation. And that's the end of the simulation, just over 1,000 iterations. And Cogway was the best play. My move was third best. And in order to compare those moves, look at the win percentage column. And you can see a difference in win percentage of just over 2%, which means that in 100 games, faced with this situation, if you played Cogway, you would probably win about 2 more games than if you played Yow. And the other significant statistic is the valuation column, where the difference between 29.9 and 25.2 is 4.7. Well, that is, on average, how many points fewer you score. So by playing Yow, on average, every single game I will score 4.7 points less than if I played Cogway, which is not as great as I was expecting. Cogway scored 10 more points, and yet the equity difference, which is the difference in the valuation amount, is only 4.7. So of those 10 points, over 5 was clawed back by having a better rack leave. So that was the first position. The next position I wanted to show was my Avow play. And here, Vatic was the move which struck me as being best, and it scored 17 more points than Avow. So let me run the simulation. Right, that's 1,000 iterations run, and as you can see, Vatic was the best play. It won 54.87% of the games, whereas Avow scored or won 50.06% of the games. So playing Vatic wins nearly 5 more games out of 100. So quite a big difference. And looking at the valuations, 31.2, 21.3 on average, Vatic generates 10 extra points every single game, every single time you play that. That is an average, but it is an average which applies to every game. Now, as a rule of thumb, I regard equity differences of 5 or more as being significant errors, which I would hope to be able to identify in game time, and differences below 5 equity points I regard as fairly small. So that's those 2 games. Now what I did was analyse the entire game. Let me see if this works. Yeah, this is my score sheet, and this is the score sheet I use in tournament games. It's a custom designed score sheet by me for my game purposes. And looking down at the bottom half, this is where I recorded game 218 while I was doing the Quackle analysis. I didn't do this during game time. I reconstructed this for the Quackle analysis. And what you have here are my racks in this column. The main word I played in this column, score and total. Now, in the left-hand margin, I've recorded the results of the Scrabble analysis, and a tick indicates that the move was the best move, and a cross indicates that it was suboptimal. And you can see at the bottom here that only 2 of my 12 moves were optimal. But what I've also recorded down here is the number of moves where the equity difference was 4 points or fewer, plus the optimal plays. So 9 of my 12 plays were either perfect or had an equity loss of 4 or fewer points, and that's pretty good. The only 3 moves which had equity losses of 5 points or greater were the Vatic one we've just looked at, where I lost 10 points, and the plays where I played board and chin, where Bato and Giacona would have been 5 points better each. Now looking, I can then total all these equity point losses, and my total equity loss was 33 points, and that is actually quite good. My average in tournament games is about 60. I don't perform this analysis on my Dweebovision games, so I don't know how well I'm playing on the Dweebovision games in terms of equity loss, but certainly an equity loss of 33 points is significantly better than I achieve in general. So having felt a little despondent during the analysis that I was hitting so many suboptimal plays, I can see from this analysis that most of those suboptimal plays were only minorly suboptimal, and when considered as a whole, my equity loss was actually quite reasonable at 33 points. Now, what I've done in the right-hand column was perform the same analysis for my opponent, and there is an error here. The 40 points was actually 26 points. So if I take 14 from 106, I get to 92. So his equity loss was 92 points, which I don't know how well that is, but I can only compare that to my long-term average, which is 60 points. So it's slightly worse. But 26 of those points were lost in making this Yar play. So if we go back to Quackle, this was the position my opponent was faced with. The bag was empty, I had FNS, and he had this rack. Now if we click Ask Championship Player, this will calculate his absolute best move. He played Yar for 29 points. He could have played Rural for 15 points less, but significantly, he is blocking my outplay of Finns. I have no other outplay. So playing Rural, he has 2 moves, as opposed to the single move he has after Yar. So despite taking a 15-point sacrifice with Rural, if we commit that and then see what my best play was, it was Fist for 17. So if we commit that and then look at my opponent, look at that. He's got 34 points for Payat down in the right-hand corner. And the net effect of his 34 points for Payat and 14 for Rural, plus the count back for the tile left on my rack, and less the points that I got for Fist, means that Rural was worth 26 more points than Yar, and those are real points. While there are tiles in the bag, the equity loss figure is a proxy for points lost. As soon as the bag is empty, your equity loss figure calculated in Quackle is an actual points loss. So my opponent did actually lose 26 points of spread by playing Yar rather than Rural, and that's an important point to be aware of, because when you have got the game in the bag, it's very easy to not to look for the absolute best play, and you can see from this position that that can cost you a lot of points. Now, if we go back to my score sheet, that's all I wanted to say about the analysis, but while I've got the score sheet open in front of me, I thought I would just talk you through how I use this score sheet. And in game time, as tiles are played, I use a black marker pen and I cross out the tiles at the shown in the top half of the sheet. And the purpose of that is so that at any time I can see what tiles are left in the bag, and that becomes more and more significant as the number of tiles declines. Now, in particular, I have the vowels on the left and everything else on the right, so I can see at a glance how vowel heavy or consonant heavy the bag is. And you'll know from the videos that that's a significant feature which I care about in terms of making my plays. And when you're playing on ISC, you can see the remaining tiles at the bottom of your screen. When you're playing in a tournament, you can't, and you need to go through this tile tracking exercise. So I've got the vowels on the left. I've got the goodies in the middle, the S's and the blanks at the top, and the really high-scoring tiles at the bottom. And then on the right-hand side, I've got the consonants, with the 1-point consonants first, then the 2-point consonants, and then the higher-scoring consonants. So that's how I arrange the tiles for giving me information about what's in the bag. The only other feature I'd care to mention is that I regard the top half of these tiles as the bingo-y tiles and the bottom half as the non-bingo-y ones, so I can see at a glance how bingo-y the remaining tiles are. So that's my score sheet. Earlier on I ran through some of the Quackle analysis from my previous game. So I hope this video was of interest. My name is David Webb, and this has been a video for Dweebovision.